Is seeking alpha premium worth it in 2024? Answering that question is the goal of today's video, and I've been using Seeking Alpha now religiously for over a few years, and I can confidently say it is one of my favorite investing platforms. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you all of my favorite features of Seeking Alpha Premium. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Now, the first thing I want to simply do is show you how we can easily analyze a stock using Seeking Alpha Premium. So let's go ahead and, for example, say we want to look at Microsoft stock. We can just plug in the stock ticker up here in the search bar and click on Microsoft Corporation, and we're taken to the Microsoft Home tab right here. Now, we're currently looking at the Summary tab, and we have a lot of important information. We're going to get into all of this. We can easily see how it's performed over different time periods like the past year, the past 5 years, or the past 10 years, and we have some key information over here as well that I always look at, such as the 52-week range, earnings per share, and of course, I'm a dividend investor, so I love to look at the dividend rate and the dividend yield. Now, if you're a dividend-focused investor like myself, then Seeking Alpha has some phenomenal tools for you, and you can see right here we have an entire tab dedicated to dividends. Now, they do a great job of breaking down all the different elements of the company's dividend payouts. One of the first things you can do is look at the dividend history for the company. You can see how long they've been growing those dividend payments and how long they've been paying it out. And we can see the dividend history. We can go ahead and zoom out and look at how those dividend payments have grown for Microsoft over time. I love being able to see consistent dividend payout history out of my companies. We can also see the dividend yield right here. We see our 4-year average dividend yield, the yield for the trailing 12 months, and the forward-looking yield. And as a dividend growth investor, I love to see dividend yield on cost, and you can easily see the 1, 3, and 5-year yield on cost right here. And if we scroll down even more, again, we can see how the dividend yield has changed over the past 5 or 10 years. But if we scroll down even further, one of my favorite charts to look at is the dividend yield on cost. Because Microsoft increases their payouts over time, your yield on cost will increase over time as well. So for example, we can see if we invested in Microsoft 10 years ago, our yield on cost would be around 8%, and Seeking Alpha does a phenomenal job of showing that increase. Again, that is a phenomenal feature of Seeking Alpha. I also love to look at dividend growth rates, and Seeking Alpha does a very good job of showing that. We can easily see the 3, 5, and 10-year dividend growth rates for Microsoft, all above 10%, which is something that I like to see out of my companies. We can also see things like the 1-year dividend growth rate, the dividend per share growth, and we can also see some other important key metrics right here. And then we have what's really important, and that is the dividend safety tab. And while some investing platforms do show things like the payout ratio, what they don't show is my favorite payout ratio, which is the free cash flow payout ratio. Dividends are paid out of free cash flow, and Seeking Alpha understands this, which is why they show the cash flow payout ratio. Again, one of my favorite metrics to look at, and I'm so glad Seeking Alpha has this feature. So again, the dividend overview that Seeking Alpha provides is absolutely phenomenal, and of course, we can easily jump into the financial statements. We have things like the income statement, the balance sheet, and the statement of cash flows. And what I like about these is they also have some key metrics listed as well. So for example, if we look at the balance sheet and scroll down to the bottom, one of the things I like to see out of my companies is declining shares outstanding. And this is also something that Seeking Alpha shows, and you can also chart it out. So for example, we can see Microsoft has declining shares outstanding, meaning they are doing a good job of buying back their shares. So again, a lot of great key metrics here listed on the financial statements as well. We can also gain deeper insights into the earnings report. We can see latest quarter's earnings and the expectations for the upcoming quarter's earnings. So a lot of great key metrics here. We can see the surprises and the estimates by quarter over the past few quarters as well. I already touched on the dividend tab, but we also have some quick valuation metrics as well. We can see things like price to earning, whether it's the trailing 12 months or forward looking. We can see price to earnings gap versus non-gap. We also have things such as EV to sales. Scroll down, we can see things like price to sales ratios, price to book ratios, and price to cash flow payout ratio. That's also a big one that I'm really glad that they have. So if we scroll up again, a lot of really quick and easy to look at valuation and underlying metrics. Now here on the growth tab, we have some really nice projections and historical data as well. We have things like revenue growth, EBITDA growth, EBIT growth, earnings per share growth. We have some free cash flow metrics as well, which I always love. We have ROE growth as well, working capital growth, a lot of phenomenal key metrics that you're going to be able to see as an investor. Now here on the profitability tab, again, we can quickly and easily see things like gross profit margin. This is one of my favorite things to look at. I look at it for all the companies that I'm personally researching. We can see things like the net income margin as well. And of course, something that I like to see as well is return on total assets. And Seeking Alpha does a great job of showing all of this. We can also see things like momentum. And this is where I think things get really interesting. We can break things out by their peers. So Seeking Alpha selects some companies that they feel like are pretty similar peers to Microsoft, and we can easily compare them over time, whether we want to look at the price return, the total return. We can look at a lot of different metrics here and compare all of these companies over different time periods. So for example, we can see the 5-year total return of Microsoft compared to all of their peers. But if we keep scrolling down, it gets even better. We can see some of the ratings from Seeking Alpha analysts, Wall Street analysts. Scroll down further, we can see how it's been trading. We can see total return metrics. We can see some dividend metrics. If we keep scrolling down, we can see all these metrics that we just looked at compared across all companies, which I think is an incredibly powerful feature of Seeking Alpha. So things like profitability, things like growth, things like ownership and performance. There's a lot of phenomenal things you can do with the Peers tab. And now what I really like is if you want to get even more detailed with this, let's go to the charting tab. And here on the charting tab, we can easily select our time frame. We can select the metrics that we want to look at, and we can also select the symbols that we want to compare against Microsoft. So for example, let's say you want to compare Microsoft with Apple and the S&P 500. I can easily update this chart to show all three. Let's say we want to look at it over the past 3 years, and we can even change the metric that we're looking at. So for example, let's say instead of price return, we want to see the total return. That's an easy update here with Seeking Alpha. So when I hit update, we can see Microsoft has by far the largest total returns over a 3-year time period. So again, extremely easy to get in-depth insights quickly into stocks when you use Seeking Alpha, but there's a lot of other features I really like the platform for. For example, one of the places that I like to keep my stock watch list is here on Seeking Alpha, and if I scroll down, you can see I have a watch list that I've been building out to watch some of the stocks that I'm interested in. So I've been looking at these stocks for a while now, and we have some key metrics that I can quickly see whenever I'm pulling up this watch list on a daily basis. We can see our price change, we can see our percent gain, we see some other metrics here, but what's really cool is I can easily change the metrics that we're seeing right here. For example, let's say I wanted to see the earnings for these companies and when the upcoming announcement dates are, I just click on the earnings tab here. Or if I want to look at the dividend overview for these companies, I can click on dividends right here, and we can get a quick idea of when their ex-dividend date is, when the payout is, what the trailing 12 months yield is, and all these other really important dividend metrics right here. Again, I can see things like growth, things like valuation, all on one tab, and I can see all of the companies on my watch list all at once. So again, this is a very powerful tool that Seeking Alpha provides. And one of the last things that I want to show you that I think is extremely important if you're someone looking for new opportunities is their in-depth stock screener. So let's go ahead and break this out. We can see there's a lot of things here to research like top stocks, top ETFs, ETF screener, and comparisons, but I want to show you the stock screener because it's a tool that I personally use. If I click here on the stock screener, I'll go ahead and put this tab back. We can see Seeking Alpha does have some pre-built stock screens if you're someone who wants to keep it simple and follow certain investment strategies. But you can also build out your very own stock screen. So for example, if we come over here and click on Create New Screen, let's go ahead and click on Advanced Filters, and we can see we have a lot of metrics we can use to start building out our stock screener. So for example, let's say since I'm a dividend investor, the first thing I want to do is click on dividends. Let's say I want to see things like the 4-year average dividend yield. Maybe I want to see things like the payout ratio as well and the years of dividend growth. I can also add some other metrics to this as well. So for example, let's say I want to see a valuation metric that shows price to earnings with generally accepted accounting principles for the trailing 12 months. And for the last thing, let's say I want to see some growth metrics as well. Let's say I want the forward revenue growth. Once I've done all of these metrics, I can click on Done, and then we can see them all right here, and I can adjust them exactly how I want them to be. So for example, maybe I want the 4-year average yield to be around 3% or greater. Maybe I want the payout ratio to be 20% or greater or less than 60%. Let's say there's a minimum amount of years of dividend growth I want to see. I want to see at least 6 years. And I can also adjust the valuation metric. Let's say I want the price to earnings for GAAP trailing 12 months to be below 40, and I also want to put it in some revenue growth. So once I adjust these metrics and I scroll down, we can see a list of all the stocks that fall into this category, and the very first one it looks like it's showing is Coca-Cola. So based off the metrics that I plugged in here, again, it's giving us a list of stocks that fall into those categories, and it looks like there is quite the list with all the metrics that I just listed. So again, you can get really detailed with this. We came up with 133 different stocks that falls into the categories that we plugged in here. So this is really great for finding some hidden gems. And so while those are some of my favorite features here on Seeking Alpha, there are tons of other features that I haven't even mentioned yet. For example, if we go back to Microsoft and scroll down, we can see we have tons of analysis from different Seeking Alpha articles. We have tons of news here as well. So there's plenty of content if you want to dig deeper into some of these companies. And if you blow out this chart, we can see there's also investing groups. We have news, analysis, we have market data. We can create multiple watch lists. For example, I have a watch list simply for real estate investment trust. We have lots of other things we can use to find and compare stocks like I mentioned earlier. So again, Seeking Alpha is by far my favorite investment research platform. The tools and resources that they provide are simply the best. Seeking Alpha is a platform I've been using for years now, and you can tell I'm a big fan because I basically use it in almost all of my videos here on YouTube. So if you're someone who is looking to take their investing seriously, Seeking Alpha is a phenomenal option. And the price you can currently get it at is actually cheaper than the price I originally bought Seeking Alpha Premium at. If you're interested in getting a major discount on Seeking Alpha, then you can use my link in the description or my link in the comments down below. So again, I'd like to thank Seeking Alpha for providing such an amazing platform and also for sponsoring this video. If you have any questions about Seeking Alpha, leave a comment down below and I'll try to get back to you. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.